See you on the course.
Yep. Yep. All right.
Coach CI. How are you, sir?
Is it still morning?
I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's,
Yeah,
it's like
afternoon. It's morning somewhere.
it might be morning in Finland. I don't know.
It's evening.
It's evening.
I would imagine on media day, the players probably more so than ever are like, can we just get camp started?
Yeah.
They're ready to go, I'm sure. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. I'm looking forward to it.
You spoke to the entire staff the other day. We had like a full staff meeting, and you were talking about this season. And you talked about playing fast, but then also making fast decisions. And I was thinking about that over the weekend because I was thinking, do they have to be good decisions, or do they just have to be fast decisions? Like, what are you looking for kind of from the offense this season?
No, that's a great question because we used to talk about it that quick decisions are more important than right decisions.
Really?
Initially, especially when starting off training. So I feel like the coach's job is to set up the environment that there's a proper challenge level, and then the players get to answer those questions. But if the questions are too easy and you give them time to come up with the right answers, they never get acclimated into the actual environment of a game.
How is the communication? Because there are a lot of new players every year, roster turnover. How's communication been with you and the players and trying to get everybody on that same page?
It's been great, honestly. We've recruited some great guys, and everybody who's here seems to be very excited about the future. And overall, communication is a huge part of this job. And with every team, there's always turnover. And to develop any type of trust, you must first know a little bit about the other person. And that's how a lot of those relationships start, just by talking about different things than basketball, but then evolving into, okay, what are we going to do together this year?
Coach, you're looking sharp first and foremost, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
You might need to get out of those quarter zips and go back if you're going to be dressing like that, man. That's Pat Riley style right there. Looking great, looking great. One of the things I was fascinated by when you spoke downstairs to the general media, you said for the first time you had a chance to dissect some Sunday night football, right? You're using football to kind of get into the space and the line alignment and mismatches and those kind of things. I've heard a couple other coaches mention that before, but what specifically sort of got you excited about looking at it from that particular lens?
I mean, I was just in the other interview, and they asked me who was a person that I would like to meet, dead or alive, and I said Bill Walsh. From the 80s. I've read everything from him, but also from Gibbs, Parcells, Belichick. I think in football it's been documented very well what these coaches have done. There are elements in our offense that have been taken from air raid, especially the speed, the simplicity, and the reads. And I would have the same examples from soccer or other sports too. So we'll always try to stay on the cutting edge because these sports are in the end very similar. They are both what we would call team invasion sports, where you're trying to get with a team into the other team's territory and score a goal. And so they have a lot of the same principles. So that's actually, I love reading about those things.
I was watching college football this weekend, and I think it was the Tennessee game. But I was noticing now, like, all the teams now, like, their whole thing is everybody plays real fast, right? Like, they get up to the line, they hike it, and now it's like not an advantage really anymore because everybody does it. But it used to be like, the couple teams that did it, it was so shocking. Like, what are they doing? They're playing too fast. You have to fake injuries and all this stuff. Now everybody plays that way. Cam Spencer a minute ago, when we were talking with him, just threw out the phrase "speed kills." So I think he's picked that up from you already this summer. How does speed give you an advantage, give the Grizzlies an advantage against teams that now, like a lot of teams, kind of play fast?
Yeah, well, first of all, you don't want to get left behind.
Yeah.
So if you look at you can go on YouTube and watch from different decades how basketball was played and how slow it seems in relation now, 60s, 70s, 80s. But even basketball from 10 years ago is very slow compared to this. So there's a clear trajectory that's pointing that it's going to get faster. And in 10 years, we're going to look at the game and man, that was still not very fast. And that's kind of the approach we've taken, that we don't think we've been playing very fast, whether it was in Europe or here, that there are still levels to this thing, and that's obviously one of the things. The speed is one thing, but how to at the same time organize the game very well, how to make sure everybody's on the same page. That's really what you're looking for, that execution under pressure that's still fast and precise. And I think we saw some really good examples of that last year in the NBA Finals, also with OKC, especially on the defensive end, how connected, how fast, mobile they were there, and the Pacers on the offensive end, flowing from one action to the other one. So there's like clear examples of that, gaining a stronger foothold also in the NBA.
Is there such a thing as too fast?
For sure, yeah, initially. And that's the thing, like, which one do you choose? Do you choose to go from slow to fast, or first recreate the conditions? And that's kind of like what your practice methodology is about. And there's also phases of the game where you want to control. You got to know time and score, and you got to be able to play, because at some point the clock's going to work for you or against you. So I think you got to have this idea that there are different gears that we got to be in.
Coach, you've coached for a while globally. You've also run franchises from that standpoint, administratively as well. What's different about it doing it in the NBA in terms of the CEO part of the job? You know what I'm saying? In terms of getting integrated with the community, working with multiple departments at an organization like this. What have been some of the challenges and the opportunities you look most forward to?
I think one of the biggest differences is there's a lot of pressure on the players. They are young men. I know how I was when I was 20 or 25. I've grown a lot since, but there's a lot of pressure from the media, from the general public to those guys, and sometimes I think I'm like, how are they able to handle it? They're special guys, and that's obviously a big difference. Otherwise, it's like you said, it's a very similar process. With the NBA, I think it's clear what the boundaries are, because you have the CBA, so you kind of know, okay, how to navigate that. Whereas in Europe, it's more like everybody does it their own way, and budgets can change from year to year and change a lot. And there's a lot more turnover because contracts are shorter, and there are no trades or stuff like this. So there's a lot of differences and a lot of overlap.
Last year, your first game as the head coach, Fish was flabbergasted because they asked you, what are some of your influences? And you immediately pointed to me. I was the first one.
He brings this up all the time.
Well,
For good reason.
Well, you talked about how, growing up in Finland, there was a lot of stuff for you to learn about the NBA and the NBA culture and all that stuff. And then last season, you talked about, after you kind of became the interim coach at the end of the year, you talked about still trying to kind of learn some of the NBA ins and outs and the little things like that. How is, this summer, have you had time to kind of sit down and look up things you don't know, or things you're not familiar with, or what's that process been like for you?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is just learning by doing, and also it was not the main reason, but it also played a part with the summer league decision. Get a couple more reps in, understand it better, the dynamics that go into gameplay, that go into substitutions, sub patterns, stuff like this, timeout management, everything, the tactical side of the game. So we have tons of checklists. Obviously, it's you try to develop in a very holistic way to become the best possible coach you can. And a lot of times the influences come from outside, or then they're very specific. They're very specific to, what do we want to do with 5 seconds left on the game or stuff like this. But just like in practice, I try to steer clear of that gray area in between. That's not specific enough or then not global enough.
Yeah. Coach, going into this season, you're going to start the season a little shorthanded. In training camp, how much is it about what we want to do as a group, as a team, or how much do you have to manage of this is how we want to start out, which is going to be a little different than we're going to be probably a month into the season?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's obviously a huge challenge for us. We have some big men who are out, and those are also our backbone, our defensive anchors, and especially on that end, not to even talk about the rebounding game, but we're going to have to collectively pick up the slack in that. And that was a lot of our preseason conversations with the coaching staff, our coaches retreat centered around those topics, how to build a flexible enough system that it functions early in the season so that we are getting the building blocks in place while keeping that flexibility for our bigs to come back and then take advantage of their unique abilities. And it's obviously not an easy task, but I think we landed in a really good spot.
One of the things that Ja Morant said, he was a quick answer. He said, what is he most confident about in terms of playing for you, working in this system? And he said, this fits me. Coach fits me. And I'm sure that Zach Edey would say the same thing. Jaren Jackson Jr. would say the same thing. What is it about your communication style and your teaching style that makes it sort of catered to where everyone feels like they have a chance and they know exactly what's expected of them?
Well, there's interplay between two components there. There's obviously, I have an idea how I would like, the platonic idea of how I would like basketball to be played. And then there's the roster, right? And they're in constant interaction with each other. So the idea of play, we've had great discussions with Zach Kleiman about the roster structure and different type of players and where they fit in. So it informs that side too. And then the roster informs how we want to play. So for example, the question about how to utilize our bigs, but how to still have, a strong basis when we start the season. So it comes through that. So we are always trying to adapt while still maintaining our strong identity. That's the one that doesn't change. And there are a lot of things that we look to then optimize for the different players, and that's anything really from personnel combinations to what type of daily culture we want to have, to the concepts we use, and then what happens here on the training floor. So there's a lot of variables there to pull from.
Well, Coach, congratulations. You're the first NBA coach, I believe, I've ever spoke to who referenced Play-Doh in a conversation and did it correctly, too. That was great. We're going to let you go. You've been talking to us for a while now. We appreciate your time. We're excited to have you here. I know people have been telling me they've been seeing you out around town all summer at the Cooper Young Fest and eating at Coastal Fish and all these other places. So glad to have you here and looking forward to this season. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Tuomas.
Yes, sir.